Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the future of the water and wastewater industry and the careers you didn't know about. I'm your host, Dave Kosminski, and again, we are on location at the CTAWWA CWWA annual conference at the lovely Ocean's Edge Resort here out on the Cape Cod. So with us is an old friend of mine from the Regional Water Authority, Mr. Tom Barger. Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing well, Dave. How are you?
Fantastic, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Well, the whole premise is you and I are all getting older.
Yeah, we're not getting any younger for sure. Dave.
No, that's for sure. So, anyway, Tom, tell us how you got into the water business. Tell us. You've got a storied career.
Yeah, it's interesting how you end up kind of also sometimes falling into things, right, Dave? So, I was a student at the University of New Haven, and I was working on my master's program in environmental studies. So one of my professors at the time had a relationship with the Regional Water Authority as a consultant doing macrobenthic analysis. And so I was introduced to the Regional Water Authority through my education. So I said, I never really thought of the water industry for my environmental background, and my training, because my bachelor's degrees are in biology with a minor in chemistry, and I never really thought of the water industry as a place for me, right? I never thought of that. But so when I was introduced through the UNH program, I put my application in, and it was a time where the utility was going through kind of a crisis moment, as happens from time to time, and they needed to nail it down and buckle it down a little bit. So they brought me in, and I spent my first 90 days doing sample collection. So
got to know the bugs.
Got to know the bugs very up close and personal, right? So
macroinvertebrates.
Absolutely right. So I did that for about 90 days. I did that niche work, but it gave me the opportunities, because now you're inside the door, and there are opportunities within the water industry that I was not aware of. Certainly. Sure. So within 90 days, I had another job open up within the organization, and I did some source protection work. At the time it was referred to as a watershed inspector. Now it's more of a source protection specialist. The job title has changed. And I did that for 5 years. Yeah. And that was very rewarding work. Again, something that was a little bit new to me, but I found it to be very rewarding, and carried me forward and gave me a lot of exposure over 5 years.
So going back to the macroinvertebrate sampling, because a lot of students are interested in biology, give us a little scope of how you use that macroinvertebrate sampling. Is fitting into the water utility.
Yeah, it was something that was kind of cutting edge at the time. I think some utilities still use it as some kind of niche work. But what you're looking at is you're studying the larger organisms that are in your stream systems and using them to assess the health of the waterway, right? So what you find is certain organisms will abound in fresher, cleaner water as opposed to other organisms that tend to tolerate more stressed out systems, polluted systems. So you can kind of inventory what macrobenthos, large bugs, are living in the waterway, and get a better understanding of the health of that waterway. And then if you're looking to protect it, you can start to work upstream and try to figure out where maybe some of those pollution sources, both synthetic and natural, may be originating.
And I think every water utility has to embark on a sampling protocol, of taking water samples throughout their distribution system and so forth. Yeah. And those grab samples are basically just snapshots in time of what that water is, water quality wise. But where your macroinvertebrates, that gives you a much broader exposure of potential, like I say, stuff that's upstream and downstream to go from there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's developing over a period of time, so it gives you a much broader picture of really what that environment looks like and has been looking like. And if you have a good baseline on that, you continue to track, and when you see changes in those organisms, you understand something's going on.
Sure. Now, when you got out of high school, did you have an idea, where you were going to be going as far as career-wise?
I mean, in a general sense, Dave. I mean, I always took to science. I mean, I really enjoyed science. It didn't necessarily focus on any particular aspect of science, So when I went into college, I mean, my interests were biology and chemistry, and I was able to, to stay with that. Interesting, I went to a small school in Pennsylvania, and we started with 30 biology majors, and we graduated 5.
Okay.
So a lot of people change their minds on
A
along the
little
way.
attrition. Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is the thing, from a standpoint of, uh, you know, actually doing things, because a lot of times, you have an envision, this is what I want to do. And then once you start to get down that road and down that rabbit hole and say, yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got to keep your mind open. I mean, you may go in with a kind of a leaning in one particular direction or another, but I think you keep your mind open and you learn a lot about yourself, right, as you're kind of going through this
Absolutely.
process. And as long as you can, be honest about, whether this is going to work out for you or not, you're better for it.
Sure, absolutely. I think, that's the thing, especially with the cost of educations today, and so forth. You don't want to go down a rabbit hole and, all of a sudden you're $50, $60, $70,000 into student debt loan and say,
no.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Well, that's right. I mean, because, it's going to take more than just a couple of weeks to pay that back, right? So you're investing a lot of your time in that economic situation. So, yeah, be sure of what you want to be able to do, because, you got to go to work every day. You might as well enjoy it.
Absolutely. And if there's opportunities of, internships or, anything that can, get you experience in, regardless of what it is, take it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, a lot of water utilities do offer those types of internships. So if that's something, I would encourage, anybody that's going to be moving into the field as you're, going through school or you're going to be getting out of school, give the water authority a try. I think you'd be surprised. Allow the utilities and the industry to surprise you.
Yeah, and those type of things are opportunities that, again, allows you to gain experience and to see if you get your tip your toe in the water.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's important to know, and that not something you're necessarily going to be thinking about right out of the gate as a water utility, but don't sell it short.
No, absolutely. I think there's a lot, as Steve said on the previous podcast, there's a lot of opportunities out there, and
There are.
the umbrella is a big one, as far as in the water industry.
Yeah.
So go back to your role at Regional. How many years you been there now?
I've been with Regional for 38 years.
Okay, you're still on probation, aren't you?
Yeah. Pretty soon, maybe I'll graduate to a full-time employee. Who knows? Yeah, they're still judging me. Yeah.
Yeah, go from there. Well, and how has the industry changed in your tenure?
Oh my goodness, Dave, I can't even. We can talk all afternoon about how many changes there have been in the industry. It's surprising too, because a lot of people consider the water industry a very conservative industry, right?
Yeah.
Which I think historically it has been, but there's been a profound number of changes. So, after I did my 5-year kind of stint with source protection for Regional, I moved back into the water quality area, and I've been there for 33 years, doing that job. And, when I started in that area around 1990 or so, the only federal regulation governing water quality was the total coliform rule,
Yeah.
right? Late
Yeah.
1980s.
Sure.
The other 16 federal water quality regulations that now exist came in after that. So I've kind of grown up with them, if you will, right? So I'm versed in those because, I've been there. I've been there, But just looking at water quality and how it's assessed, and when I first started, we were measuring things in parts per million. Then it went to parts per billion, and now we're into parts per trillion.
Yeah.
And they're talking about MCLGs, maximum contaminant level goals, in the parts per quadrillion.
Yeah.
So the sensitivity of the analytical equipment and the chemists that have to be employed to do this work, and your ability as a water utility to be able to treat water down to those concentrations and maintain affordability.
Yeah.
It's a task that is bigger than I am, for sure.
Oh,
But
no,
it's
absolutely. And
so many changes, Dave.
Depending on the size water utility that you're a part of, you guys are a regional, obviously, and you're about 400,000 customers.
Yeah, just over 400,000 customers.
So
yeah.
Here I'm a little municipal water system that has 2,300.
Yeah, but Dave, we all have to play by the same rule book, right? We all have to abide by the same rules. So,
Touche.
and it's not easy.
It's not, especially for a small water utility like us. Those mandates that come down sometimes aren't easy.
No. That's a tough pill to swallow. But I think it's an important point that I want to make your listeners aware of too. Is one of the other big changes I've seen, Dave, is as you see these regulations come into play, the importance of public health.
Absolutely.
So we understand we're a public health agency as a water utility. And a lot of the consumers out there are becoming more educated to these types of topics as well. So, it's not just about meeting regulations. It's not just about, doing what the rule book tells you to do, but we are actually making a consumable product.
Sure.
That has a huge public health impact.
Yeah.
So, it's important for folks that may be going through education and you're into health fields. You may see yourself as a sanitarian, maybe working in a health department at some point in time.
Absolutely, yeah.
Look at the water industry again, because I can see people that are going to come in my role behind me are going to be benefited by having that type of background.
Sure.
And then working for a water utility.
Sure.
Yeah.
How many phone calls do you get a week, from parents calling that just got out of their dentist and to find out, does your water utility use fluoride?
Yeah, yeah. Whether it's questions about fluoride, questions about disinfectants, questions about PFAS chemistry, radon chemistry. There's all kinds of educated folks out there that are asking these very pointed questions, and it's. I think it's good that they're asked. I like the fact that people are understanding of this.
Yep.
But you have to be able to answer those questions
Absolutely.
too, because you know what, Dave? If you're a utility that's not monitoring for PFAS, or you're not monitoring for Chrome 6, or you're not monitoring for, A, B, C,
Yeah.
And how do you look at your customer and say, I don't know?
Yeah.
We don't know. I don't think that's a defensible position.
No, it's
so
not.
You have to do what you have to do. You have to be able to explain it to people. You have to be able to communicate it. And I think it takes increasingly people that are educated in the sciences and understanding of public health that are going to be necessary in this industry to carry the ball.
No, well said, well said. And again, this is, I think, the value of conferences like this, to where, you have a wide spectrum of employees coming from smaller utilities to larger utilities that can come and get this knowledge that, hey, well, as a small utility, I'm not versed in this, but, when I go to this conference, I can ask guys like you, Tom, okay, hey, how do you deal with this and how do you handle it? And, that in itself is invaluable.
Yeah, it is. David, you're absolutely right. And, I come to these conferences as one of the senior guys here in terms of my longevity in the industry, but I'm learning something every day.
Every day.
Because this is constantly evolving. And so I can talk to engineers. I can talk to folks that are on the leading edge stuff that's going on to be able to continue to learn the process. Yeah.
Nice. So getting back to the section, how did you get involved in the section?
Through my mentors, right, within the Regional Water Authority, the Tom Chaplicks,
Yes.
the Daryl Smiths, the Noel Grants, right, all of those guys that I used to work with when I started when I was 23 were very, very much involved in the Connecticut section of American Waterworks, or in the Connecticut Waterworks Association, both. And so those are the guys that taught me to understand the value of that network.
Yeah.
Of getting involved with these other folks. And so what they work at other utilities. They work at
Sure.
consulting engineering firms. They are regulators. They're all good people to know.
Yeah, no.
The importance of that I can't underscore
No.
enough. Yeah.
You're right. You see this Water and People banner behind me here. Tom Chaplick was the chair of the section. When I developed the Water and People course that we taught at Portland High School, and Tom was the one in the chair that come up and gave us $7,000 in seed money to develop that curriculum, which was again approved by the health department and so forth.
Yeah.
And it's still out there. So Tom has been a big part of the water history in Connecticut.
No, for sure. I mean, he hired me into the utility. I learned from Tom every day.
Yep.
And then upon his retirement, he went off and did his own thing,
Yep.
and followed his own, whatever he wanted to do, all those things he was involved in, because he was involved in any number of things.
Yeah.
But the importance of everybody that I've gotten to know through the section has been invaluable. I'm trying to push this, on the young folks that are working with me that are coming in the industry, the importance. I do things here at the Connecticut section. I've involved myself at the national level, with the headquarters organization in Denver, where I sit on a couple of committees. I serve now as national director, representing Connecticut. It's been a tremendous ride for me. It's
Yes.
not over yet, right?
No, hopefully not.
Yeah, no, not yet. I participated. We've spoken, Dave, you and I, about the fly-in, and
Yeah.
we both participated in that legislative effort down in D.C. It's been great. I mean, I've gotten a lot of opportunities presented to me as a result of my choosing to put an application at a water utility when I was, 23 years of age.
Go figure. Go figure. Well, Sally was on one of our earlier episodes and so forth, and your involvement on the national level. Tell us how that got started.
Well, I think it grew out of my, the local level, right? So working here in Connecticut section, getting on the chair rotation. I've been part of the Water Utility Council on the board of directors here in Connecticut for a number of years. And it just kind of, one thing grew into another. I got involved in the fly-in, so you're meeting different folks now at the Government Affairs Office down in D.C. So I think it was just a natural progression.
Sure.
It really was. And being given the opportunity and the support. I mean, let's be honest, the support of my utility has always been there. They've always saw the benefit and the importance of that voice and that network.
No, for sure. I think from the say, you and I go back a long time with the fly-ins, and to educate those people in Washington, and because a lot of times, we talk about emerging contaminants and so forth, and we're looking for funding. It's important for us to, voice those concerns, because basically, we can get funding down there, and they have to be aware of some of the stuff that we are facing, on a local level every day.
Yeah, no, that's very important. It's a two-way conversation for sure. I mean, there's a lot of education of very smart people down in D.C. I'm not going to take anything away from any of them, the smartest people I've ever met. But they don't necessarily know our industry, and they don't understand how some of the decisions they make in Washington impact us here in Connecticut and elsewhere. So I think that's an important two-way conversation, and it's been very rewarding for us. I think Connecticut has benefited from these conversations.
Absolutely. So anyway, hey, on a personal side, what do you like to do for fun?
I like
to get that personal aspect.
I like to do a lot of freshwater fishing. I mean,
Okay.
I enjoy that, so I try to do that locally. I cycle.
Okay.
And I do a lot of walking.
Okay.
So
what's your favorite fish? Trout or?
No, usually largemouth bass.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Any dibs on any favorite fishing holes?
I can't tell you that, Dave.
Okay.
No. But no. Connecticut not only is water rich from a water supply perspective for sure, but there's also some good fisheries here in Connecticut as well. So I try to get to those as much as I can.
Nah, that's great. Well, like I say, it's one of the things that I do. Obviously, my musical background. I say, so what's your choice of music?
I grew up in the 60s and 70s. I listened to rock music.
Okay.
So
that's classic.
I do a lot of the British bands and so forth. I enjoy. But growing up as a kid in my house, my father grew up in rural Pennsylvania, so I used to always listen to a lot of old school country music too.
Okay. Yeah.
Waylon Jennings and the Highwaymen. And so forth. So I enjoy that as well.
Awesome, fantastic. Okay, so have you been to any concerts that really sparked your interest?
It's funny. I don't go to a lot of live music.
Okay.
So I don't know whether it's crowd avoidance or exactly what it is, but I don't have a lot of experience with live music.
So anyway, all right. If you're stuck on an island, okay, what food could you eat every day?
Oh, wow. Let's see. Well, does it have to be? See, I'm going to be the science guy now. So do I have to think about whether it's actually available, and I have to be able to prepare it, or, because I like ice cream. That's not necessarily going to survive on a desert island type of situation. But yeah.
Okay.
I think if I had to.
Okay.
It's ice cream.
Ice cream. Nice. All right.
All right. Comes in a lot of flavors, right?
Yeah. What the hell? All you need is a refrigerator.
Yeah. Well, and if not, you got to eat it quicker. That's all.
Nice. All right. Fantastic. All righty. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tom Barger's in the house. And again, this is the future of the water and wastewater industry and the careers you didn't know about. And again, I'm your host, Dave Kosminski. And Tom, thank you for your friendship throughout the years and sharing your
Dave.
voice with our listeners.
Happy to do it, Dave. Thank you very much.
Awesome. You're the best. Thank you.